Hello! Welcome to Night's Arcade. I'm Sleepless Night. We are back in Hardspace Shipbreaker. Sorry for the... I'm a few minutes late. I'm like 3 minutes late. I had a bit of an audio issue at the last minute there, so hopefully if I'm quiet for a moment, you'll be able to hear the game music. Yeah? Maybe. I hope so. Anyway, it shows here that you can, so let's hope that that's true. GW, how you doing, buddy? Reina! Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome to the arcade, and Dwight is here. Look at that. Right, let's make sure everything's working here. I don't know why it won't send this tweet. Apparently now it will. There we go. That's done. Done and done. Let me turn on the chat bot, because I always forget. Joink. How are we all? I've got a bit of a cold. Now I have taken some cold medicine just to kind of dry up this relentless snot. Sorry to be gross. Well, just long enough so that I can stream for a bit. You will still hear me sniffing and coughing quite a bit, I'm afraid, but you know, I've only just come back. I only came back, what, last week? Week before last? I've only been back a couple of weeks. I don't want to start taking time off again already. Stop by to say hi. I'll leave a tab on. Have my midterms in like 2 hours. Whoa. Binary Dream. Welcome to the arcade, my friend. It is good to see you here. Corvo. How you doing, buddy? I'm okay. I'm not too bad, really. It's just this relentless goddamn cold. It's my little girl I feel sorry for. She's like... I mean, she's still got a fever tomorrow. We're going to have to take her to see somebody because she's had it for like 5 days. She never has a fever for that long, but she has this time. But anyway, we've all got this goddamn whatever it is, so... Just in time for the kids' holiday. So they're off school, and, well, you know, my little boy doesn't go to school yet. He's not even 3 for another few days, but Aya does. A little girl, she goes to school. And she came home with a cold. So she started with a cold on, like, her last... What should have been her last day of school. How are we all? Oh, crap. Okay, right.
9346-52.
Okay.
Team at Lynx would like to wish you a happy and productive day.
Right, I actually got to retreat from this game without letting you see too much, because this is actually my private... Sorry, I went into the wrong account. This is actually my private game. I was hoping you wouldn't see too much of that. So let's go. What I need... I need the limited account. See? Look, there we go. I need the one we were doing. So there we go. That's what we want. Sorry about that. I typed random medicine. Shouldn't cold medicine be called hot medicine? What? Depends on the medicine. I just took pills. We saw it all. Yeah, sorry. I went into my personal playthrough. I should have stayed with the stream playthrough.
Shift time will be commencing shortly.
Oh man, everything's gonna be really slow again now. What a bummer. Okay. Well, let's see what we got on here. We got anything in there? Nope. Oh my god, this is so slow. Alright, how many links tokens we got? Let's have a look at the equipment. Let's see what we can get. Let's, oh Christ, I've got nothing. Grapple strength. Charge push. That is actually really useful. Can I still increase the grapple strength here? Alright, there we go. Nothing else now I'm going to be able to get, because it's all... I suppose I could get a... Oh, there we go. I suppose I could get that. There we go. That's always helpful. How far is the helmet from... Oh my god, I'm going to have to be coming back for oxygen and all sorts. Oh dear. It's always terrible when you come back after a week of playing on your main account and you got all this stuff and everything runs nicely and smoothly, and then you got to go, okay. How is everybody? I've been waiting to see you do a full playthrough of the completed game for months now. I'm really excited, but I have to leave for work soon. But I'm going to watch it tonight. Just, well, that's very good of you, Raina. Thank you very much. O2 and thrusters. I know, but there's no O2 upgrades at this point. Yeah. So my private playthrough, I guess if you include this playthrough along with all the other licenses I've done, I've probably done about 11 playthroughs of Shipbreaker over the last 2 years. You know, all the resets, plus I've usually have more than one license running at the same time, and I play on different ones. So, you know, quite a few. Let's, what do we got? That was level 4. We go, let's start off with, let's start off with a heavy cargo mackerel level 5. Okay. Oh man, I move so slowly. It's depressing. Okay, how many tethers have I got? 30. Okay, that's not too bad, I guess. Alright, let's get on with it. Once again, for those of you who are here who are not... Oh my god, the brakes are so damn slow. Sorry. I'll try to stop. I'll try to stop complaining about how slow everything is and just get on with making it faster. For those of you who aren't too familiar with my channel and my Shipbreaker playthroughs, if you haven't seen any of my Shipbreaker stuff before, I do play with a controller, which is why... Oops. Which is why my play... I forget that's a thing that you can salvage now. Which is why my playthrough might be a little bit different than yours. Let's just throw that in the thing. It's crap anyway. Because, you know, I have my reasons for playing with a controller. I do have reasons. I'm not going to go into them and bore everybody every single time we come in here. But if you are a Shipbreaker player and this looks slower or more different than yours, it's because although I'm on PC, of course, I play with a controller. For reasons I've stated many times in here. I did try. So, again, for those of you who are new to Shipbreaker, the reason I pull off this ablative plating is it's just a me thing. It's not something you have to do. It's just a me thing. It's because quite often when I'm separating the cockpit, I send my tethers I cut the cut points and then send my tethers from the inside to the outside. And what I'll do is I'll forget that there's ablative plating. So then that tether goes through and it pulls off the plating. And then you get waylaid doing something else. And when you turn around 10 minutes later, that side of the cockpit's still there. And you thought it had gone into the processor. Because you're not concentrating. All it did was pull off that plate. Which is why I removed that first. But you don't need to do that. Absolutely not. We've got inside cuts. Any more antenna? Nope. You should also, another bad habit that I have is that I don't use my scanner often enough. You should. Look, it's not pressurized. Compartment's not pressurized, so that's nice and easy. Don't forget to salvage your airlock consoles, because they were always worth quite a bit, but nowadays they're worth an absolute fortune, worth over 125 grand each. Okay, we got... Oh my god, yeah, I still can't even pick up components yet, can I? God damn. This is lame. Don't worry, we're gonna make some progress today. Don't you fret about it, my lovelies. My lovelies. I don't think I've ever said that in my life before, so I probably won't do it again, to be honest. It didn't really. I don't think I can pull that off, can I? So we'll probably not do that again. I always pull this light fitting off because quite often... Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to put a tether on it. Quite often, it'll kind of... Stuff will catch on it. And it may seem slow, but trust me, saves a lot of time in the long run to just do this. Yeah. Nope, not that door. Maybe not through the door. Was there even a door on this? There might not even have been a door. Oh, no door in it. Okay. Oh, let me go and I'm going to pull this thruster switch before I forget. Unpowered. Okay. I've cut the power to the thing. Or there wasn't any. Never mind. Alright. My bad. Once again. It's one of my bad habits that I always forget to pull that thruster switch until too late, until I've disconnected its power. Sometimes they aren't powered to start with, but quite often I forget to pull it. And it all goes wrong. Let's leave that there for a bit. No fuel pipes yet. That's always fun. Whoosh. Yeah, okay. Should have just checked that. Boink. Boink. Oh, next time I go out there I should... I really should... Boosh. Right, so that's what I was talking about. See, I passed the tether through there, but if you leave that ablative plating on the front, quite often I forget, and it just ends up pulling the plating off. And then you end up with a cockpit that doesn't go anywhere, because all it's done is pull the plate off, which takes a tether about 3 seconds. Right, we go... Oop. Get rid of that. There we go. Let that pull that for a moment. Then disengage the tether, because you don't want it to get too far away. Oop.
Salvage is secured. Applying credit.
Whee! There we go.
Deposit accepted. Credits
Don't usually bother about the lights, but, you know.
Salvage goal reached. Rewards assigned.
I mean, the thing is, you see how it all pulls apart in these little pieces? Because now, of course, nowadays, the cockpit pulls apart in smaller pieces than it used to.
Salvage deposit confirmed.
So,
Applying credit.
let's cut through that. I don't cut my glass very cleanly, I'm afraid. Probably seasoned shipbreakers having a heart attack, but it is worth cutting the glass out of the cockpit because it's worth quite a bit of cash. I never used to do this. This is something I started doing during the race. When I used to do the weekly race, I started doing this simply because, you know, it's more money. So, wait. I'm just about to throw that cockpit, and I didn't check that this right. I was about to throw that in with a goddamn reactor on it. That's pretty stupid, son. No.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
That whole thing in there. There's probably O2 in there, but I didn't check. Yoink.
Welcome to Metatron 9000.
Oxygen level. Deposit accepted for processing.
Ooh. Face breaks. Ugh. Ugh. I have a deep ingrained hatred of cargo hatches, and I don't know where it came from, really.
Salvage deposit ready.
This is...
Account credited.
That's a stupid idea, really, with a soft pack there. I've set fire to quite a few of those in my time. Okay. Boink.
Credit applied.
Still not got that much range on that split saw. I keep forgetting. Ugh. Oops, missed one.
Process object.
Didn't think I had enough range to get that one.
Salvage deposit.
Now,
Credits awarded.
likewise, these bottles and little food packs, right? You don't need to salvage these. They're not worth anything, but it's just if you care about your stickers, that's what we do it for. Oop. There we go. Oh, god damn. How did I miss that?
Object processed. Transferring credits.
Whee! Did I cut through that? I did. Oh, look at that.
5 minutes left, Carter.
Thank you, Fake Weaver.
We were out.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
I was going to say something else about Weaver then, but I shan't, because, you know,
Deposit accepted for processing.
spoilers. I have to watch myself with that.
Salvage registered. Transferring credits.
Yeah.
Valuable object accepted for processing.
No. Rakes. God damn. That was stupid. Nah. Now, here, whenever you line up on a thruster, on a fuel canister like that, right? Hey, Matthew! There he is. Hope you're staying safe during today's shift. Yeah, pretty safe. Until I get sloppy, it'll happen. There was a time long ago when a young SK in the darkness of night silently crept through an old abandoned house, heard a noise and turned expecting to see his mate, but no. It was a dreadful ghostly cargo hatch that reached out. SK stuffed his chips. SK's hatred for cargo hatches has festered ever since. Just some backstory for everyone. I'll now accept that as headcanon. So when you're doing when you're doing these, right, something I learned very, very early in Shipbreaker, right, is to watch your angles on your cuts, right? Because that fuel canister is nowhere near that cut point there, right? But you have to think about where the beam, when you're approaching it, right, you cut it, your stinger is here, right? And you have to think about the angle of the beam. And you have to always think about what it will pass through. The number of things I've blown up and set fire to over the last 2 years, not really thinking about that too hard. Or, you know, forgetting it momentarily and just being lazy. Sloppy cutting. Again, you can use your split saw here, you know, just for the sake of speed. But if you... I get a bit OCD about messiness. And with a controller, it's quite a lot less precise if you're trying to be quick than it is a mouse and keyboard. So I don't like the mess it creates a lot of the time if you're not too careful with your split saw. Oh, I can't pull that out. Stupid, man. Because, of course, I didn't disconnect the thruster, so we can't do that.
Credits awarded.
There we go. Pull that out.
Rewards allocated.
Push. Push. So once again, we'll lose that cross brace when we salvage that thruster, but never mind. I'm not too fussed about it. Boing. Don't need to do that either. Oops, only a fuel pipe, but... You'll see with the tool wheel, you know when I've talked about how I stopped doing the race once because I use a controller, I stopped doing the race once they introduced the tool wheel because it slowed me down too much to be competitive. And you'll notice that more when I go to quickly flick between one tool and another and it ends up staying on the same tool, or quite often selects demo charges when you just want to flick to the grapple from the stinger or something like that, right? That happens quite a lot. Whereas that's one of the examples of how it slows you down using a controller if you don't use a mouse and keyboard. Just because, you know, it's one button selection of a tool as opposed to... I mean, if you want to watch someone... I don't think I've got a link to his channel, but if you want to watch a really... Oh, for God's sake. I tell you what, they've added a load of new lines for Weaver in the 1.0, and I can't say that I'm especially impressed with him, to be honest. There's a lot of, like, he says way more of this, like, ridiculous nonsense.
Your oxygen reserves are low.
Yeah, I knew.
Excess carbon dioxide can cause damage.
See, like here, sometimes I'll just sit blasting those into the processor instead of just what you should, of course, do, which is just throw a tether over. Yeah, Weaver says a lot more of this ridiculous crap now than he used to. Look at that. No point refilling your oxygen with only 6 seconds left.
Object accepted for processing.
Pull that out. Right. There we go. It'll work in Shipbreaker. Chivalry 2 is a very different thing. I was watching Torn Banner's Chivalry 2 Discord introducing horses today. You know, they're just giving you a preview of the horses they're introducing for the next update. Rank 7. Right, now, I'm going to take just a very quick bathroom break right there, because since we've hit rank 7, I have a funny feeling something's going to happen now when we go in, because that is up to rank 7, I think, is the end of Act 1. So something's going to happen now in the next... Either this break in the hab or the next one, so we'll see. So I'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. Terribly sorry about that. Right, first of all, I'm going to move this because I realised that I moved it for Sniper Elite. And it's probably a slightly better position there for... Yeah. It's probably a slightly better position there for Shipbreaker. So, it's BRB music. I know you do, buddy. Right. Oh, I sent you a link, by the way, Matt. I love his little night. Right, so we should get some more story, either this visit to the hab or the next one.
Good morning, Cutter. It's time.
All right, folks. Got a priority message coming in from corporate. Everyone put down what you're doing and have a listen.
Maybe they're gonna give us some holiday time. That'd be awesome.
That would be a first. Probably just another Pilsen kid getting a cushy exec job.
Hush up now, y'all.
This is an important message to all Link Salvage Division employees. It's come to our attention, thanks to a very loyal member of our family, that there has been talk about forming a shipbreakers union. A union is a dangerous thing, where extensive fees are extracted for so-called representation of your workers' rights. At Lynx, our top priority is already your well-being. This is why union activity is strictly prohibited by your contract, for your own protection. To safeguard you and your work, we are immediately dispatching an administrator to every salvage sector. This administrator will oversee operations and ensure proper employee conduct. They are authorized to correct worker behavior by any means, and they'll remain in place until we can guarantee company-wide integrity. Until then, remember, the company is your family. The union is your enemy. Thank you.
Yikes.
No holiday. Told ya.
A union? I haven't heard anything about that. Have you?
Of course.
Sadly, yes.
Probably happening around the Martian district. They always been quarrelsome.
You heard anything like that, Lou?
No. Hey, Weaver, do you know when our administrator's coming up?
Week, maybe? Coming all the way from HQ at Jupiter Gate. When they get here, we'll need to be on our best behavior.
Oh, great.
Nothing to fret about, all right? But they are going to be checking everything. Salvage logs, transmission records, operational efficiency.
Oh, great.
You'll be fine, Kai. It's not a performance review.
Lou's right. Now, let's just try and keep our heads down and weather this storm together. See y'all in the yard. Weaver out.
So there you go. Oh, there we go.
Don't worry, this is a closed channel. There won't be a log. Well, looks like things might get a bit difficult around here. They're gonna try to make our lives hell. Don't worry. Just having access to the Union News Group doesn't make you a full-fledged member. Besides, no one from corporate has access. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. If anything happens, I'll make sure nothing comes down on you. Lou out.
So there it is. Yeah, when I say unfortunately I have heard about the union, I don't mean I consider unions to be an unfortunate thing. I don't at all. I support them completely, but Lou, the character who communicates about the unions in this game, is I find her rather irritating. Javelin tanker. There we go. So let's take a gander on what she sent us here. 2 messages. Okay, we don't need that. Yes. There you go, contract clauses. Relating to the Everwork program. The company is your family. So this whole thing is the backstory of the Shipbreaker story, the Shipbreaker campaign, the story such as it is. Such, you know, don't cross the divide. Don't listen to what they're telling you, saying to you about crossing the Kessler Divide. It's not easy. It's not standard. It's a crapshoot. It's more terrifying than the vacuum or any meteorite impact. Between the skies of Earth and the void of Luna is the debris field that's been building for 200 years. Most pieces are tiny bits of worthless, non-dangerous gold leaf or canvas junk. But get a rogue nut from a satellite launch travelling 15,000 kilometers per hour and you're going to be real surprised at the crater it leaves in titanium. My recommendation, bring some strong sedatives and knock yourself out. When you wake up, you'll be dead or have a new job in space with a substantial amount of debt. Shipwright Alexis McNair. There you go. Being a shipbreaker. It's hilarious. So yeah, that the Union story there, that is really, that's pretty much the Shipbreaker story, such as it is. Not sure what good a Union is if it has to operate in secret. What are they going to do? Go on secret strike? Well, no, but you know, you'll see. David, welcome back, by the way, David. You're a Shipbreaker player, no? Yes. So I'm assuming you've seen the story as it comes. And you know, to be honest, the campaign part of Shipbreaker is not very long. It's not very long at all. I mean, what are we at now? Let me have a look. We're at what, rank 7? So we're at rank 7, and I think I'd completed the story entirely by like rank. Well, no, I'm not going to go any further and say, because I was going to qualify my statement there, and then I realised I'm giving stuff away. So let's not do that. Let's just look at our equipment and make sure everything's okay. We've got a new sticker. What do we get that for? What do we get the sticker for? It wasn't a ghost ship because I didn't do one yet. Haven't brought those in yet. Not on this playthrough. Where did I miss? Where? Whatever. Right, let's repair this equipment because it degrades quite quickly when you're out there. Okay. New brakes. Really could do with that. But tether lifetime improvement. Okay, let's. Then we get the next rank for the helmet. O2 consumption. That's one of the first things you want to take care of when you're looking at. I mean, you'll figure this out for yourself. If you're playing Shipbreaker, you'll figure out for yourself that one of the biggest pains in the ass is having to go back to the Master Jack, having to go back to the kiosk on the Master Jack like twice a shift. Right at the beginning. At the beginning, you have to go back there twice a shift. Yeah, but only in early access. Haven't got into the story much yet. Geiger, welcome back. I've seen you in here for a while. Yeah, I haven't got into the story much yet. Well, you know, there's stuff coming up in the story that's, you know, I mean, let's be honest, the story in Shipbreaker is pretty much, they came up with a great game with a really unique gameplay mechanic, with, like, unique, as far as I can see, gameplay mechanics. And, you know, I think they just kind of tagged the story on. But there's quite a lot of backstory there, those little story elements that come through your comms. There's quite a lot of that to come. And then there's one part of the story, one part of the main campaign that you can actively participate in, like that you directly affect by what you do. But that's coming up later on. So let's improve the brakes and the top speed. So the next thing after that you want to do is the fuel, but the fuel goes down really slowly, and quite often you'll find fuel. You will find fuel canisters on much higher ranked ships than you will tend to find O2 canisters. O2 is a little bit more rare, and you'll find a lot of it on lower ranked ships, but as you get higher up, you won't really find O2 canisters kicking around. Not very often, anyway. So, you know, by O2 is one of the first things you want to take care of. Distance of your stinger, that range on your stinger, is kind of important, because at the beginning you've got to be right up to something to actually melt through it. Grapple strength and tethers are really, really important. And your thrusters, of course. But yeah, take care of your thrusters, because that controls your movement. Take care of your O2, obviously. Got to rank 20 yesterday. I think it was the end of the story. Yeah, I think it was 19, 20, something like that. Yeah.
Morning, folks. How y'all holding up? I've had a what? I can't hear you, Kaido.
Kai, try switching to another frequency and then back again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, see that cross brace? I haven't pulled off again because I failed to pull the switch. Either there was no power for it to start with, or I failed to pull the switch before I severed the power, which is a mistake that I've made quite often. It's one of my worst habits.
Come here before?
Forgetting to disconnect the thruster
All the time.
before.
They send someone.
And you can't melt through that cross brace.
They send someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just send someone to find out if they need to send someone.
They ain't a big deal, Kai.
You heard right, Paulson. I guess they're just snooping around for Union stuff. Right? Yeah. Gonna be here a week, tops. These types have the attention span of a gopher. They'll move on pretty quick.
Oops.
What's a gopher?
What's a gopher?
What? Boy, you better come visit sometime on Mars when you're done here.
One day, we'll all go see them gophers and whatnot.
Whoop.
Keep that front of mind and don't fret none. Carry on now. Weaver out.
Pushed. Pushed. How many of those?
Deposit accepted for processing.
God's sake. I think we take that now. There's no... Can't see what we're going to need. This is where I smack myself in the face with something and crack my visor. Actually, I had a really bad one the other day on my other play line. I had a really, really, really major smack. Like, it cracked my visor wide open. And usually, if you don't have any medkits on you, you'll die. Because if there aren't any medkits in the ship, which, of course, you'll find fewer and fewer of them as you go through the campaign. As you race through the ranks, you'll find fewer and fewer of these little bits on the higher-end ships. So if you haven't got any of those, you've got to make it, like, with all your O2 has bled out into space, and you've got to make it to the kiosk to get a patch kit. I did, but... This playthrough, actually, I've had way more accidents. Like, I think I've had more accidents in this playthrough, my other playthrough, my personal one. I think I've had more accidents in that one playthrough that I had than I had in the previous 3 playthroughs put together.
Credits deposited.
So there you go. There we go. That's it. All done. Whoosh. Whoosh. A lot in there. There we go. Not a lot to do there. Not a lot to do. Just have a quick look on your scanner, see if you left any rammel kicking about. See? So that cross brace, like I said, this is a bad habit. It's peculiar to me that I tend to forget to pull that switch before cutting the power. And I've been doing it for a while. Since, I mean, they didn't used to have these to start with, but I've been doing it for a while. And if you forget to pull that off, you can't cut through the cross brace, and there's no way you can separate it from the thruster without destroying the thruster, because you can't melt through the cross brace itself. So, you know, doesn't matter. It's in there now. It's not worth a great deal, so you've not lost massive amounts of anything. If you've got the time, like if you finish a shift early, by the way, top up your, and you're really worried about time, top up your tethers before you go in. I didn't really need to because I'd only used 5 that shift, but top up your tethers before you return to the yard, to the hab. Okay. There we go. So once again, only 2.3 million, but at one time, that was almost as much as one of those mackerels was worth. So they're worth a lot more now. But as I say, your debt hasn't changed for the last 2 updates. It was originally 1 billion straight, just flat. That was your debt, 1 billion. And then I think they tried to push it up to a more realistic sort of level. And having played to the end of the story bits, like I can actually see now why they pushed it up to more or less exactly that level. But your fees, your rental fees haven't really increased since the days of early access, but the amount that each ship is worth has. So coming off shift in negative numbers is almost unheard of now. You shouldn't ever do that, really. But when I first started playing Shipbreaker, when it first went into early access, it was much more common in those early shifts to be able to come back and actually be in negative numbers because you hadn't salvaged enough. Because as I said, the early mackerels were only worth about 1.5 million, 2 million, I think, in the very, very early days. All right, nothing interesting there. We've got 45 links tokens, which again, which in this new update is enough to do something with. So let's have a look. That's another important one. So you see the heat capacity, because quite often, as you get into the higher ranks, there are like sections of the ship that look like part of the hull, like the last big chunks of the hull, the frame that I just towed into the furnace there, that I just had pulled into the furnace. But there are large chunks of that, if you go further along, that will need separating from the rest of the ship because they're processor material, like radiation filter housing, for example, is worth quite a lot, but it forms part of the... It's really solidly attached to the frame, so you have to melt several of the structures. You know, again, you can just cut through it, but it makes it really... If you want speed, you just cut off the bits at the side of it. But then again, if it's on a corner, that's a lot more difficult. But again, I don't like the mess, so I tend to melt through the structures, which takes a little bit longer. And there are several points, particularly a really good example is the Gecko station hopper, so the really large passenger vehicle. The Geckos are a much larger ship, and the passenger versions of the Gecko have got a ton of stuff that needs salvaging from inside, right? So you go through the nanocarbon hull, and then the aluminium hull, right? The aluminium and titanium that forms the frame of the hull, and then inside of that, there's a ton of stuff, right? And so that you can get it all out fast, one of the things that's really common to do is either cut through or melt one of the deck plates so that you can just blast it through the floor into the barge. And for that, you know, the temperature on your cutter will heat up quite quickly when you do stuff like that. I've never found the O2 recharge module much help because, frankly, I'm not... What that does is it allows you to recharge your O2 while you're in an when you're in a pressurized atmosphere. But I never leave the atmo pressurized long enough for that to make any real difference. So, thruster fuel. The grapple's range, that's helpful. Occasionally you'll misfire something and it'll ping off a corner or something and go flying off into space, and if it's a valuable component you might want to retrieve it, and if your range is not high enough on your grapple, that's a lot more difficult. So what's that, 26, that's 40, so let me improve the tether lifetime. Right, I think we're good. Continue. We don't want to continue that ship because we're done with it. We're going to do a javelin. An Atlas. What else we got? Exolab. We're down to that level. Let's go and... let's have a pop at this javelin. I don't care for javelins much. They are fun, but and they do come apart more easily now than they used to. But because I'm not still after all this time, I'm still not quite as familiar with them as I was with the geckos and the mackerels. Oh, look at that! See, that's the range. I could have melted that sort of way earlier. Oops. I always forget these little cross braces. The bottom one's easy enough because you can just throw a tether down. Oh, for God's sake. See? That's the range again. Ah. That's my lousy controller handling. Alright, so just throw a barge, tether right down to the barge for that one. This one's a bit more of a pain, but on these shorter ones, what you can do is just go up here and... I don't think this is strong enough. No, it's not. It isn't. Never mind. What we do is throw that over to the master jack so that it pulls it over the front and clears that, and then it'll go down to the and then it'll go down to the barge. So there you go. You can cut that now. And then throw it down. Right. Now. Oh. So every one of those belongs on the barge. Every one of those clamps. At least there's no actual fuel on this one. Woo.
Salvage deposit accepted. Credits transferred.
Let's cut through these clamps before we go inside. Oh. Now, at the moment, if you notice, look, all these cross braces here, these ones there, they're still yellow as well. And while they're yellow, that's okay. Everything's fine and dandy and quite easy. But when they go up to the black, I mean, they're always black and yellow, but they swap colours. Like the demo charge ones are black, where these ones are yellow, and vice versa. So you can easily tell which are demo charge cut points and which aren't. Shipbreaker stream. Hang on for a bit. Starting with the ion ring and then the antennas makes sense. Yeah, I generally... Welcome, first of all, Kira, to the stream. Yeah, I've been playing Shipbreaker since it first launched into early access, and again, I've made lots and lots of videos on it, but the Javelins I've never been real favourites on, so if there are other things on my job board, I tend to select those over the Javelins. So it's probably they're the ships I'm least familiar with, but I've done plenty of them. So yeah, but on these early ones, look, you've now got these you can cut through, see? I'm not going to... So you can cut through that, right? But when you've got to use demo charges, and there are about 30 of these, that's a just massive pain. I hate doing that. Now, these are fairly easy to do when you've got no... when there's no fuel canisters on the other side to accidentally cut through and explode. I know I cut through that stanchion there, but I don't really care. It's not important, and I've got to take all that off eventually anyway. Okay. Ooh. They're a bit of a pain, because they're loose and they haven't got any fuel. Normally I would blast those away, but since they haven't got any fuel canisters, they're a bit too light. Okay. So the ones on the bottom, easy enough. Boom. Boom. These ones, since it's only the things themselves, I'll just pull them off one at a time. Look, see how that's come off already because I've cut through all the cross braces. Oh, I thought I'd missed one then. I just grabbed hold of the wrong bit. Can you explain why you like this game so much? My favourite is the pressurised mackerels with broken vents. If you cut out the cockpit, somehow the crawl space is still... I really, really hate what they've done with the cockpits and the thing, because whenever they have broken atmo regulators and you depressurise the ship, the cockpit doors close, right? And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm sure you have, but since they brought the update... See, what I used to do, if there was a working atmo regulator in the cockpit, but not in the main hull, not in the hold, what I would do is I would melt the doors off the cockpit so that the atmo regulator in the cockpit would depressurize the entire ship. And that worked, right? But you can't do that in this one, because if you melt those doors, it automatically renders both of those atmo regulators completely inactive, right? Which, I guess, you know, from a technical point of view, that makes sense. But it's just irritating. Excuse my sniffling, I have a cold. Yeah, somehow the crawl space is still pressurized. Yeah. So now you can't melt the doors off and use the atmo regulator in the cockpit, right? But if you use the atmo regulator in the hold, the doors on the cockpit, if it's got doors, automatically close, meaning that there's no way to get... I mean, other than cutting through the glass and letting all the air out that way, there's no way to get into the cockpit without violently depressurizing it, right? You can't, without... essentially explosive decompression. So you have to basically open the door to get to the atmo regulator because it's on the other side of the door, and you can't depressurize the cockpit separately, which is insane. So if there's anything hazardous in there and you've got fuel tanks in the hold, then what I've taken to doing now, what it only took me a couple of times to learn, obviously, that the thing to do in that circumstance is once those cockpit doors close, just leave it that way and empty everything. Cut the roof off, cut the bottom off, empty everything, get rid of it, then open the cockpit. Since they've tweaked the physics and it's a slight improvement. Before, if the air that was in the cockpit would have made the ship fly off all over the place, but that would make it so much easier. Yeah, it would. But yeah, there's the various things they've done with these. Literally cutting out the cockpit and the walls fall out. Yeah, exposing the crawl space to space, yet they don't depressurize. I've noticed, I used to have a bug in the ghost ships as well. You remember they used to have a bug in the ghost ships. I don't know how long you've played it for, but in the bug in the ghost ships when they first introduced those, where even though everything was exposed, every part of the ship was exposed to space, the ghost ship would try to repressurize the hull. But that would cause like an audio loop and weird physics in the ship, and it would all go very, very strange. I hated that. So, Honey Chad, sorry, to your question, why do I like this game so much? I honestly don't really know how I can explain that. I think it's just one of those games that if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. For me, after all the years I've been a gamer, it was just unique. You know, I can't think of another game like it. And there's a weird thing that happens after you've been playing Shipbreaker for long enough. If you're a fan of the game, at least, is that it does start to kind of feel like this is your job. It's immersive in that way, I find. It just starts to feel like this is your job, and getting better at your job and becoming more efficient at it is part of the draw for me. You know, that's what I love. I'm not being particularly efficient now, and I won't be as efficient as people who use mouse and keyboard because, again, I use controller, which slows me down. But there is a reason that I use a controller and not a mouse and keyboard. I just don't feel like boring everybody with the details of it every single time. Now, one of the only things I really like about the javelins is I actually like pulling out the reactors, but this doesn't have a Type 2 reactor. It only has a Type 1 in a really weird location, which is a pain in the ass. There we go. See me duck as I went through there, like as if that was going to make a difference. Boink. My favourite ship to cut is the heavy industrial cargo gecko. I love cutting those things down. I could do that all day. And why do I love it so much? I don't really know, other than I I like the way that ship cuts down. I like the way that it comes apart. And you've got a lot of room to play with. There are certain right ways to do things, and even when they would do the thing with the broken atmo regulators, if you just took the cargo bays off the top, that tended to be the safest way to depress them. And they just, once you've gotten everything done in those, they just peel like an onion. And I love that. So very clever. It's chill. It reminds me of Death Stranding. It's really the calm and the vibe of the game. Yeah, I think that's pretty well. It's just, it is a game that I find really relaxing. It's like finding something that you do well, Like anything that you find that you become really good at, and it's satisfying. Oh crap! Did anybody notice any O2 in there? I don't think I did. Oh, there we go. See? This is where the javelins become a bit of a pain because of these the ring sections.
Valuable object processed. Credit awarded.
Oops, see. I should really go and have a look if I can find any of that O2. Oh, that's weird.
Critical oxygen levels detected.
That's really strange. I've never known the thruster cap to pull out the thruster like that. That's really weird. Whee! Oh crap. Goddamn brakes are crap. O2. Tethers. Don't worry about the fuel. Is that not? That's not in the barge, is it? Once again, excuse my sniffling. What I do like about the javelins, as I was going to say, is I like pulling out the level 2.
Salvage deposit secured.
The level 2 reactors from the javelins. Because like most people, you find a lot of the time you find your own way of doing things, and I don't know how many other people pull out the reactor of the javelins the same way that I do, but I tend to pull the whole thing
Salvage goal met.
so that I get a clean pull. I'll pull the entire reactor along with the ECU still connected out through the ass end of the ship.
Salvage deposit confirmed.
And then I can get a completely clean pull down to the barge. So I pull off the plating, pull off the reactor plating, and just yank it down to the barge. Lovely and clean. But that's just a Mark 1 reactor, so they're not terribly complicated anyway.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
The reason I'm doing that is to just so that it clears there and it doesn't get hooked up on the ship. Which can be a bit of a pain. Again, when you're pulling big, heavy objects, especially ones that have got that shape, just be wary that you put some tethers further down, because the objects that the tethers pull will go to the sort of mean position. So they'll go to the position somewhere in between where you've put this tether and where you've put that tether. And that's where they'll find the point where they'll just sit. It won't be a problem at this level anyway, because your tether's lifetime is quite short, so the tethers will break before long. But if you don't do that, quite often with the heavy ones, and you just walk away and don't look, they'll get hooked up on the furnace, and that furnace is lethal. It's got a hell of a pull on it.
On the clock, Cutter. 5 minutes remaining.
Oops. Missed. cut through that in a minute. We'll cut through that in a minute. Let's go and see what's in here. Don't forget your airlock consoles. Oh, crap. Well, we shouldn't have done that. We've got a pressurized. Yeah.
Airlock pressurizing.
Whee! Right, make sure you... There we go. So that's just gone out into the empty hull, and these doors have just popped open now. Oh, I still can't pick up those components yet. Don't worry, we'll get there. Right, I generally remove the cockpit next. Cut through these little buckles here. Oop. You don't really need to cut through that one. It's not necessary. You cut through that one, you can get outside. Pull off the computer panels and the posters. And then just blast that. Boink. Collect any posters, obviously, you don't yet have. If you're into that sort of thing. You know.
Deposit registered. Account credited.
Oopsie.
Salvage goal obtained. Additional rewards assigned.
Beep. Boink. You gotta be careful with daisy chaining stuff like that. If you push it down and before the other one's clear, you can really damage some of those computers. And if there's other stuff in there that can be set on fire, the arc that is created... But there you go, look at that. This is exactly what I was talking about. You see there? See what's happened there is that that has got hooked up on the edge of the furnace, just as I said it might. See? And the problem is, once stuff gets hooked up there, what I've noticed, especially with this update, and this is particularly true of the size of Atlas thrusters, because those things weigh, like, those things are so heavy. And if you let them drift into the side there, into those edge plates of the processor, sometimes no amount of tethers can remove it. But if you fling something at one corner at it, thring another piece of nanocarbon plating or something like that, a smaller one, at the edge of it, and it'll just break it free. But look, see, that didn't pull that out at all. So tether it to a jack or something. See if it can pull it away, which I bet it can't. No, see, it won't move. There's an area around the processor and the furnace now, right? Where stuff gets stuck there and you just can't release it. What I probably can do, once I've got something I can fling at it that's not terribly valuable, is I'll chuck something at it. When I've got something to chuck at it that's not, that I don't really need, I'll chuck something at it, and sometimes that loosens it up, but that's definitely a new thing that really wasn't a problem before.
Cutter, you got 1 minute left. Time to shift your...
There you go. You see how I said you didn't need to cut that other thing that holds that other wall, and all you're doing, if you cut through that, you're just making more work for yourself.
Valuable object processed.
These I hate, because these stanchions that hold on the ion rings, I can't stand those, because sometimes they're more trouble than they're worth. Don't need to remove your airlock consoles from in here, because they're all going to the barge, of course. So don't worry about that. These things are a bit of a pain. Bang, bang, bang. I've noticed things glitch through the wall right there, especially with those big braces. Posters. Yeah, since they updated the look of those, since they updated the panels on the furnace and the processor, which before were like solid, right? So that wall down the edge pieces, like the funnel between the processor and the furnace, that was just solid wall before. The shapes were there, but it was basically just solid. Now, if you notice, it's like plating that you can actually see behind. I don't bother with the lights. I think that's probably a hang-up from when I used to do the race, or certainly from the early days of Shipbreaker. I know that they're now worth a lot more, so now they are actually worth pulling off. Some of them I pull off, some of them I don't bother. With the macros, quite often I'll pull a light off as I'm just getting rid of a ceiling panel. So I'll pull some of them off, but I don't usually save very many, just because quite often the time it takes to remove them is just not worth it. You lose more money in the time than, but I think that's a hang-up from when I used to do the race, really. I just don't bother with them. And they used to be worth so little, it just wasn't worth it. Whereas now, of course, they're worth quite a bit more, so it probably is worth the time to remove them, but yeah. Glitch through the wall right there, especially with those big braces, yeah. Yeah, since they've updated it and those are now plates between the processor and the furnace, I've noticed that things get stuck on that wall you just can't remove. If they get stuck there, they're almost impossible to shift. And those little tiny circular lights actually used to be worth, right back in the beginning, they were actually worth something, but not worth pulling off. But if you took one off and fired it down to the barge, you'd notice... I'm talking back in the days before we had the big, wide, long, deep barge that we've got now, but when it was just a small thing with a yellow electronic net over it, essentially. Back in those days, the lights were worth a bit, the little circular ones, but now they're not worth anything at all.
Hello, Shipbreaker 9346-50.
Gonna catch a flight. All right, my friend. I will catch up with you. I'm sure I'll catch up with you later this week, buddy.
People dream of great salvage, while other people
Fly safe.
wake up every morning and make it happen.
Keep the blue side up. I'll talk to you later. Right. Oh, please excuse all my sniffling. And I've been away from streaming for quite a while while I moved house, and I'm going to be away from streaming again when we move house again later this year. So, when I've got just a bit of a cold, I don't really want to call off streaming just for that. Right, I'm not going to read out all of these. If you play Shipbreaker, you can delve into the lore a little bit more. Some of it is great. I shared one in the Discord. I shared one in the Nights Arcade Discord the other day. That was a really funny one about someone doing a demo job that was like everybody was out sick with food poisoning, so they brought in this guy to do this demo job, and he like annihilated this asteroid. It was quite funny. Okay. Equipment, likewise. How everybody upgrades their equipment is different. When you get to the geckos, as I said before, you'll quite often need to, melt entire plates. Or, you can just cut through them, but quite often... And the reason I don't do that is because I don't like the confetti that it creates, the mess that it can sometimes make. So I'll just melt out the entire plate, which takes longer, of course, because you've just got to hold the stinger on it until it melts through. And in the early sections, you've got to hold the stinger on it, then let it cool, and hold the stinger on it again, and then let it cool, and then a bit more. So, depending on the size of the plate. So the heat capacity and the cool down levels are something you want to look at as you get further on. Strength upgrade for the grapple. We're not quite at rank 8. What is the helmet going to... The next, that's 39 links tokens, so that's naff all, so we can get that in one shift easy. I'm not really interested in fuel upgrade at this point. I'll adjust the range on the Stinger, and that is it. That's all I can do. I do this, basically, I quite often just use these repair kits when they drop below 95%, but you can use them a lot longer than that without needing to use repair kits on them. The circular lights aren't worth anything at all, no. Only the strip lights are the only ones that are worth something, but they are actually worth something now. They're worth, like, what, about $3,000, I think now? About 3,000, something like that. Is there an efficient way to pull out the reactor containment pieces? I've just been melting the 4 titanium beams holding in place. So, when you talk about the reactor containment pieces, are you talking about the hexagon that goes around them? Like that hexagonal metal structure that holds them in place? Because I just melt the whole thing. And the reason I think they intended for you to do that, because when they first put those in, you used to be able to... They were all separate pieces, so you used to have to melt one at a time in sections on the hexagon that goes around it, that structure. You used to have to melt one section of it at a time, and it was a pain. But then they made it all one piece, so that when you use the stinger on it, the whole thing melts away. So I think that's what they intended you to do. But no, I don't know of a more efficient way to do that, no. But, you know, the weird thing is about these early ships, for those of you who don't play Shipbreaker, is that they're really nothing like the configurations of the later ships. So even though this is a Javelin industrial tanker, it has a level 5, it had a class 1 reactor in it, which once you get above level 6, like, you'll never ever come across one that has a class 1 reactor in it. Never. The box that the radiation filter is sitting inside, not the brace holding the rad filter in place. Oh, right. Yes. You mean that? So you're talking about the surround around a radiation filter, not the reactor. You're talking about the radiation filter housing, like the really heavy piece that goes in the processor. Yes. No, I haven't found I was actually talking about that just before you came in. I haven't found an efficient way to do that. You can cut through it with a split saw and just lose some of the aluminium housing and do that, but I find that makes too much mess and it drives me a bit nuts. I'd rather take the extra time, so I just melt along the box pieces. I melt along the aluminium casing that's holding it there until it comes away, and then I just fire it into the processor. So probably the same thing that you do. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pain. Why do I keep backing out of the job board? Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. Did I? Nope. Oh, for God's sake.
Welcome to Vendatron 9000.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thruster fuel. Sure, there's thruster fuel in there, but... Nope. Eee. Oh, crap. That's my dumb fault for... Oh, great. Here we go. Ready? Hang on. Sometimes you might just want to hold on to something in case it all goes crazy, which it sometimes does. There was a lot of air coming out, considering it was just the airlock that was full. An awful lot. But there you go. Nothing seems to have got seriously damaged, so we're good. Exactly what I do, yeah. Blitzkin, welcome back, buddy. Good to see you. Oh, I just walked back in there like an idiot. Accidentally drifted back in. That's me. Boink. Just go. It's like these. You see this, right? You can just cut through that with a stinger, with the split saw, but I don't like leaving that little bit, which it doesn't always now. Sometimes it melts away completely, but for that reason I just like to melt all the way through it with a stinger. It takes longer, but it doesn't drive me nuts that there's a little piece left there. So there's a lot of stuff I do when I'm cutting a ship down that I don't need to. But honestly, since they did the update and everything's worth a lot more now, frankly, time isn't quite as important as it used to be unless you do the race, which, as I've said many times, I no longer do. Since they added the tool wheel, I don't do the race anymore. And I used to be pretty good at it. But since they added the tool wheel, the controller is not an efficient way to do the race. Because, you know, you've got to use the tool wheel to select, whereas before you could just press a button. So it's a bit of a pain. Get out of the way. Get out of the way, you stupid airlock. Oh, that damn thing's still hung up. I must remember that while I've still got a piece left of something to fling at it.
Salvage accepted. Credits applied.
Whee!
Processing valuable deposits. Credits transferred.
Go. You need to blast those things to get them out of the way. I mean, if you feel like you need to. Just grab them immediately with the grapple. Stop them flying off into space.
Valuable object.
Oopsie. Sorry, I let that drift too close to the ship. And you can... Ugh.
Salvage secured. Applying credit.
So even though it doesn't seem like... quite often doesn't seem like it's something you can do. For example, let's see. I didn't cut that end plate loose, did I? Right. I'm going to try to show you what I'm talking about. Let's go cut that end plate out.
Processing object.
Boosh.
Applying credits to account.
Whee! Okay. Let's go in and deal with the end cat. Right, so now, another thing that irritates me about this whole thing is that quite often, if you're cutting one of these out, right, and it's a nacelle that you're cutting out, like the big thrusters on the side, the nacelles, right, if it's a nacelle, right, you can cut through this and afford to be quite sloppy with your split saw because it doesn't destroy anything, right? But when you've got sensors or antenna or anything like that that are attached to it, quite often they're composed of completely different stuff, so you can actually cut through a lot of it. On these it doesn't make any difference. I never ever bother. What I'm doing now, these are the stanchions for the ion rings, and I never cut those off. I don't even bother. I just send it into the processor with it all attached. Right, so what have I done there? I've obviously missed something.
Object process. Transferring credits.
I don't know where. Seriously? Is that all one piece on this? Nope. Right, so like, here's a good example. So that's a half ring section, right? So if you want to get that away, even though it'll show that your grapple is red, right? You can just aim that up to there and go boop, and that will actually push it in that direction. I think you just leave that until you come back to it in a minute. Oops, I didn't need that. Nowadays, of course, you can actually pull things out of the barge that you put down there by mistake, but there's no need to. So these, let's see, let's grab that light. Whoop, we'll never stop moving. Grab that light. So those little lights are worth like 3,500 credits now. They used to be worth next to nothing, but these ones whoop, are worth nothing. Our survey says nothing. See? Nothing comes up. They're not worth a thing. They ain't worth a damn. So quite often you just use your push on your grapple to clear the nanocarbon plates. Right, see, but this thing, all of this goes into the processor anyway. So, like, I don't bother separating those top sections, the little stanchions. But you might have to do this a few times. Oh, that's come out, right. That's a separate piece now. Didn't have to do that. Wasn't showing. When I was grappling on it, wasn't showing as a separate piece. Well, it perhaps was, but it was showing that it was too heavy. Which quite often looks like the same thing. I don't know why I'm still hanging on to that tether. Oh, O2. Whee!
Welcome to Metatron 9000.
Oxygen levels stabilizing.
Hey, Mordred! How you doing, buddy? For me, it takes ages before I was a little faster. Takes ages before I was a little faster. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's more stuff. What takes ages? Think I will just... Yeah, don't bother with the lights. If you terminate contract at the end of the story... No spoilers for these folks who don't know the story yet. Are you still able to continue your save? I don't actually know, because I haven't chosen that yet. Yeah, anyway, we're going to go through the story. I don't want to discuss that in any detail. For those of you who aren't familiar with this story, and there are some people that I know, you know, some of them, one of them's left, but there are some people that I know that are playing through Shipbreaker and don't know all the story yet, so I don't want to spoil it for them by discussing those things too soon. But once we've finished that story here, I will. Oops. But yeah, I haven't chosen that option, so... Oh, for God's sake. Pull that in there. Right. Boink. Right, I am going to take one of these nanocarbon plates. This is going to take a while, because it's going to take me ages to get there. But I'm going to take one of these nanocarbon plates over here. This could go horribly wrong, because one or the other of these pieces is probably going to get swallowed by the furnace. But you see how that thing gets hung up there? Since I'm not too bothered about time, I'll show you what I mean. You go over there. Don't go into the furnace. I need you. So you see these plates here between the furnace and the processor, right? Can you see behind how they're attached to the thing? And you can see the gap behind, right? You never used to be able to see through there. That was just one solid piece. And it seems, to me at least, that since they put that like that, anything that gets hung up on this wall, you just can't shift it with tethers, no matter how many tethers you use. Trust me, I've used like 20 tethers on a piece before, and I could not move it. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you can shift it by taking something that's a bit heavy and wanging it at the thing. Oh. There you go, see? See, now it moved. There you go. And that is how we do that. So I could have put... it's just one of those glitchy little funny physics things that happens in this game, but I could have put 20 tethers on that. Trust me, I've done it before. And it would not have moved from where it was. But if you just hurl something at it, sometimes that's enough just to knock it away so that you can salvage it. And it was. It's always nice... When you're a live streamer, it's always nice when you say something's going to happen because you've observed it happening in your game. And it actually happens. Right? Because I cannot tell you, and I'm sure there are lots of streamers who know what I'm talking about, I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen something happen in a game, and then I've said, well, if you do this, and of course when you do it on stream, it doesn't work. I've done that tons of time. Right, let's go and empty this. Nice to avoid big spoilers, yeah. It takes you ages, what, to clear the ship? It depends how used to doing these ships you are. Like low-level mackerels below a low-level mackerel below level 5 or below, a low-level mackerel, cargo or station hopper mackerel. Once you get really into the game, there's no, and you're not talking to people and pausing it all the time and trying to show things. Like, if I'm just on my own, focusing and concentrating, a low-level mackerel, level 5 or below, I can clear that in one shift. I don't need 2 shifts to do one of those, and you shouldn't. once you get to know the game. But, you know, the bigger ships are always going to take you a lot longer.
You got 5 minutes left in this ship before they turn the
But you've also kind of got to know... You eventually get used to what's worth salvaging and what isn't. And what you can afford to lose. Like, when I'm trying to empty out a ship, right? The aluminium walls are worth so little. Wait, in this case, it should be easier because you've got a big glass panel at the end, which you've got to salvage separately anyway if you want to make all your money. Cut out this panel. You only need to cut the sides of these big ones because then it'll come free. It's not like the cockpit panel. Cockpit panels are a pain. But those, you only need to cut the sides and then you're good. But now, quite often, I'll just show you for the sake of it. Quite often, I just melt these end panels just to make it easier to pull all this stuff out. Just to make it faster. Because pulling these tables out is a pain, and you know. But, you know, if you don't want to do that and you want to take the time to salvage every single little tiny piece of the ship, that's fine. Like I said, I used to do the race. Oops. I used to do the race quite often, so I picked up a lot of habits, bad habits in cases, from doing the race. From times when you're like, I used to spend a lot of time doing the weekly race over and over and over and over again to climb the leaderboard. And that, you know, that perhaps has given me a lot of bad habits. But if you want to salvage every piece, I do salvage a lot more now, and I'm getting back to the point where I'm salvaging more and more stuff. But
Salvage registered. Transferring credits.
if the glass is in a titanium wall, even though both go in the furnace, you don't get credit. Both go in the furnace, you don't get credit. The glass is in a titanium wall, even though both go in the furnace, you don't get credit. Uh-huh. Spiff is here. And Richard. Richard, my boy. Pretty much one of my oldest friends in the world, and he's not a moderator. Why is that? I can't let him get away with that now, can I? Why are you not a moderator on my channel? Huh? You are now. I don't know if that's more power than you should really ever have. But so Richard, Copper Octopus there, I will be streaming Sniper Elite 5 with tomorrow. Hopefully, unless my cold gets much, much worse.
Applying credit to account.
Which I don't imagine it will. Oh, crap. A bit of a shock off that. So, yeah, quite often I'll just melt the wall off because it's easier than trying to take it out a tiny little... You got a tiny little hole in the wall, and trying to remove everything through there is a bit of a pain. Again, like I keep saying, the bottles and the food packets you don't need, they don't worth anything. But if you want your stickers for salvaging them... I almost tried to pick that up then. That's not... Is there another bottle there? If you want your stickers for salvaging them, which you used to have to salvage 100 bottles and 100 food packets, but now you only have to do 15 of one and I think 20 of the other, I think. I think it's 15 bottles and 20 food packets. I'm not sure. It does really feel like they dumbed the game down quite a bit for release. Now, what we'll do is we'll just zip through all this. No, that's out of range. God damn. You see, the range thing doesn't seem like a massive problem, but it can become a real pain in the ass issue. Woo! Don't do that. That's a good way to end up dead. There you go. That should pull out. Right now, you can do this any way you want. You can do it with the little blast that I've showed you there a couple of times, but I like to just have it pull out nice and straight and even. Deep and crisp and even. Right.
Raw material deposited.
There you go. And pull that free. Oops. Cull those. There you go. That should be okay because it's relatively lightweight, but let's put one over there to that jack to make sure it doesn't get dragged into the furnace. When you've got a big piece, this is particularly true of the large tail pieces of the geckos. So when you get onto the geckos, which are really big and really long and wide, there are huge tail pieces, side pieces. Usually on the bigger ones, it comes into 3 bits. You've got a central section that's relatively lightweight, but the 2 side pieces are really, really heavy. And quite often, because they're so close to the furnace to start with, if you're not careful what you're doing with those, they'll get sucked into the furnace. Because as I've said many times, the pull on that furnace is intense. And what I will quite often do, if a good way to stop that from happening, is you'll put 2 on the edge of your processor bay, put 3 tethers on, put 2 on the edge of your processor bay, and the third one on that jack that's closest to the processor bay. And that one tether, as long as you only put 2 on the others, that one tether is enough to drag it further out so that the furnace won't get it, but it should put it in a nice position because you've put 2 into the processor. That will pull it slightly more than the 1 to the jack. When we get to those, I'll show you, but it's a good way of making sure that your tail pieces don't get swallowed up by the furnace. What have we got? Again, usually I'll just melt out the floor.
Warning. Your oxygen reserves are dropping below.
Well, make sure you can see. It's difficult at this level on your cutter because it requires quite a high temperature to melt that. Once you get those increased heat capacity and stuff like that, this stuff's a lot easier. Oh man, it takes a long time at this level. Okay, maybe we won't. There we go. Just melted it before we went inside. What have we got going on here? Hello, fellow cephalopod. How much team killing will we see? Team killing? I don't think he does. Actually, when we've been playing it the last couple of days, the only time we came close to a team kill, that was my fault. I accidentally almost blew him. Well, I did blow him up yesterday, but I managed to revive him. I got a bit trigger happy with the explosive canisters that were around, and I shot one of those thinking that he was on the other side of a building, and he wasn't. He was just inside the door on this side, and it killed him. Gladly await the team sabotage. Is that little emoji flipping the bird? Is it a thumbs up? Mental. Rank 8. Now we can increase the O2 capacity, which is the second you can get this. Get it. Because the number of times you have to run backwards and forwards.
Shipbreaker. Please enjoy this inspirational message.
We've got Atlas Roustabout Tug now.
Of a job takes as much energy as the first 90%, which is why.
Thank you.
Cutter,
Here we go.
I want to tell you,
Hey, here we go.
mighty impressed by you. Remind me of me when I started. All bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Had big dreams of hitting the rails back then. Bought myself one of them classic armadillo rigs. Named the old girl Beulah.
Beulah.
After my mother. Told you about my bad revive a while back. Another case of me and technology not getting on, I guess. Bottom line is, this body just ain't fit for flying no more. So, I want to give Beulah to you, Cutter. She ain't in the best of shape, but she'll do good by you. Hell, even a few places around the village that'll fit her out for gate travel, if you're so inclined. Anyway, that's it. She'll do more for you than me now. I'm just happy she's gonna be with somebody that truly appreciates her. Weaver out.
So, I don't think it's there yet. But what Weaver's saying there is he's just given you a ship. And by the time we come in from the next shift, it will be sitting outside this window. And there will be a thing on here. A ship doctor, it's called, with weird porno music. I don't know why they went with the porn music in the background of the ship doctor thing, but this really, really irritating thing, largely based on Microsoft Office's Clippy. If you remember the little paperclip that used to tell you stuff. And you'll see that. Oh, that's the story of the Paulsons. And you'll see that in there when we come in from the next shift, and you'll see the ship outside the window. And the idea is to salvage those parts that as yet we haven't been able to pick up. And you use the thing in here to put those parts on the ship and slowly repair the ship to make it ready for travel through the railgate, which is there. As I've said many times before, if you don't know what the railgate is, but you're familiar with the Mass Effect games, think of it like a mass relay. Same sort of thing. That's what the railgate is. You'll see the railgate fire from time to time while I'm out there. The thing about this game is if you're looking at something, I mean, the audio resynth in your helmet makes this weird thing possible. But if you're looking directly at something, you can pick up the audio from it. So, like, if the Solaris Super Freighter comes... Shippy is fairly funny. I haven't needed to mess with the oxygen after the 4th upgrade. Well, I think by the 3rd upgrade makes it just about possible to get through an entire shift without running out of O2. It just starts to beep by the end of your shift. So after that, you don't really need another one, but I always upgrade it to the max anyway. Anyway, yeah, you'll see when you're out there. So like when you look at the Solaris Super Freighter, you can hear it groaning and rattling and as it pulls in. I love when that thing arrives. But likewise, the railgate, you can just hear a little bit of interference in your radio. And if you think about it when that happens and you remember to look round, you can really see and hear the railgate fire. If it happens while we're out there and I remember, I'll I'll do that. Right. So let's upgrade the O2. Oops. Boop. There we go. O2 capacity is now higher. I think I might have enough to... Yeah. Oh, wait. Let's do that. Heat capacity. Alright. Okay. It's silly to have to be like level 18 to start buying your own equipment. Well, but that's another thing they adjusted. Did you notice, like, the Lynx tokens now, they rebalanced them so that, like, you get almost no Lynx tokens now. I mean, everything is cheaper, but you get virtually no Lynx tokens. I think on the playthrough I did before release, so like the week before last when I was playing this on stream, I think I had like 166,000 Lynx tokens because I'd bought everything long ago that I could even need them for. Can we bother to go? Yeah, let's go and finish this thing up. How many tethers I've got? 17 tethers.
Damn salvage goals.
Yeah, hey, Weaver, do you know when this administrator gets here?
Should be here any day now. But remember, no need to worry.
Thanks.
Hi, you good?
Yeah, just nervous, you know. I really can't lose this job.
There we go, look, melting out the floor.
Slow down there.
They always let go of the screw-ups first.
Yeah, can't pick those up yet until we get the program, which we should do when we go back in this time.
Work careful. Avoid any major accidents. You'll be golden.
Yeah. I just need to keep my head down.
Should really have melted that one that was in there, because that table's going to be a nightmare to get out without, but never mind. We'll do that in a second. Let's... Oh, that's a massive pain in the ass. Oh, for God's sake. Or else,
Salvage deposit secured.
uh,
Credits awarded.
just melt off the side panel.
Valuable object. Credits awarded.
And don't let your tool overheat like I just did, because I wasn't watching. That's what happens, you see. You get too used to your tool being capable of melting through one of these quite easily. And you forget, and you let that happen. Like an idiot. Come on. There we go. Again, it isn't necessary to do that. You can get everything out the hard way if you like, but the aluminium panels aren't really worth enough for me to really worry about it. They might be for you. It might make a big difference to you. I don't know, but I don't care. I don't really care. I just melt the panels off to make my job easier. But of course, that is easier. See, we've made the last salvage goal now anyway. But that is easier when you get later on. Oh, crap. Okay, oh look. Right, here's a perfect example. One of the things I really don't like about Shipbreaker, and it still bothers me, this. Level 9 goal hit on a heavy javelin pulls like 300 LT. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you used to get like, you used to get like 1,500 links tokens on it. But yeah, everything costs, it's a lot cheaper to level up now, but you don't get many links tokens. Yeah, one of the things I don't like about the physics in Shipbreaker, and I'm sure there are coding reasons that it's like this, but it does bother me nonetheless, is that, like, I could attach also, there are times when you get, like, let's say we get a full mackerel, right, that you've hardly removed anything from. You would need 50 tethers, at least, to get that to move, right? And even then, it would barely shift. But if you happen to grab hold of something inside the ship that is fairly lightweight, and it gets caught, there are certain objects that will then, that seems to override the physics. What seems to happen then is that the whole ship seems to inherit the physics of the much lighter object, like that just did, right? And all of a sudden, the entire hull just goes whoop, because I'm holding on to a thing there. Look. See, look, I can turn this entire hull backwards and forwards like it was a toy. I know there's not much of it left now, so I should be able to move it. But you'll notice that this happens, you know, with other stuff. Bigger stuff. Oh, for God's sake. What a pain. Really? You must be joking. Come on, down and out. There we go. God damn, what a pain. Yeah, so it seems that quite often, when you've got an object like that, there are certain objects that seem to cause the ship itself to inherit the properties of that much smaller object. And it's... I mean, in the race, when I used to do the race, quite often, if you watch someone like Goaf, who is a legendary racer, who I haven't spoken to Goaf in a while, but we used to chat backwards and forwards about the race, but he is... I mean, watching Goaf race is I mean, that is a masterclass in shipbreaking. But of course, he uses a mouse and keyboard, and he just plays this constantly. And he has earned his status, along with people like Clowns and Cerelia. They've earned their status as legendary shipbreakers during the 2 years that I've been playing this game. And like, if you watch them quite often, you would see when they were doing the race in the early days, they would exploit that particular bug to move large parts of the ships that you otherwise couldn't move, right? So they would use tethers on the much smaller object, which was usually a fuel pipe, because on the bigger ships they can get crazy complicated, like crazy straws, and they weave their way throughout the ship, so they'll get tangled in everything. And they would use that. They would use the fuel pipes, and and they would exploit that glitch to move huge sections of the ship that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to move, and they would just use that way that the ships inherit the properties of the smaller objects to drag an entire hull into the furnace, which normally wouldn't go. Which normally you'd have to spend time cutting it into much smaller pieces and sending those in, but they'd use the fuel pipe to do that. And I've seen Goph do that. I've done it myself, but only after watching him. I didn't even occur to me until I watched him do it. What else we got in there? And, of course, famously, among shipbreakers, doors, which don't seem to conform to any known laws of physics. They behave really strangely. Watch, I'll see if I can show you. Stand out of the way before I get hit in the face by the other door. Where'd the other one go? Well, there you go. See, now the other one just appeared. The other door, because the doors, presumably in order to make them work within the code of the game, the doors essentially act like one object that just opens and closes, right? So even the two separate doors, they act like one. So when you cut one out and it floats away, the other one floats out of its housing through the wall, thinking that it too should be able to float away. It's sort of like it gets confused and goes, oh no, that one melted. Oh, well, I guess it's just me now. And sometimes that can cause you to get hit in the face by a stray door. It is weird. But I imagine it's something to do with the fact that the doors have to open and close, so from a coder's perspective, I guess it's necessary. I've probably forgotten something. A battery, there you go, I knew it.
Salvage deposit registered. Account credited.
What's hazard level 10 like? I don't know, it's a while since I got there. I did on playthroughs a while ago, but I don't really... Once it gets to the higher end of the ships, I don't really pay much attention to what hazard level they are, because they're all quite dangerous and deadly once you get to that level, if you're not careful what you're doing. You know, mackerels and stuff like that, they just tend to be... What they used to be was they used to be just crazy... You know, that none of your atmo regulators would work. None of your atmospheric regulators would work, but they'd absolutely fill the hull with fuel tanks and loose bits like asteroid shards. Right? They'd absolutely fill the hull with these things, but the atmospheric regulators wouldn't work, so you'd have to explosively decompress the ship, and all this stuff would flow around, and the ship would just explode. But I honestly don't know. Let's refill the fuel and the tethers. If you've got time at the end of your shift and you've done everything, always do your refills before you go in. Just saves, because you're going to get charged the same amount for a shift, whether you're out there for 10 seconds or 15 minutes. So once you've got 7 minutes and some left, just run out the clock. Tidying up or making sure you've refilled things on the tether, or watch the railgate, which apparently is not going to fire anytime soon, because you can usually see it charging up. Where's the... Nope. I was going to see if we could see the super freighter, but it's not around. Had a lot going on. That's cool. I like 23, but they haven't thrown a level 10 hazard at me. Is there a level 10 hazard anymore? There might not be one anymore. I can't remember the hazard levels and what they went up to before, because honestly, once they got to a certain level, I just stopped paying attention to what hazard levels there were. So that is a good question. I played this for 10 years, and 2 years. I've played this for the last 2 years, and I can't remember if there even is a hazard level 10. Had a mackerel that was filled to the brim with battery packs. 30 packs all up and down the... Yeah, they're a bit evil. Can be a bit evil. Right, now, when we go inside, you should see the ship outside.
Good morning, Shipbreaker. Lynx mandates a maximum of 8 hours of sleep. Any extra sleep time will be docked from the next pay cycle.
Process 150,000 kilograms of nanocarbon. A new sticker. Yay.
Please tell me I heard right, Rook. Weaver gave you his old armadillo? Oh, man! That's so lucky. I used to help my old man fix up eaters like that. I hear Weavers might not be in the best shape.
No, it's knackered.
I've got something that'll help get it ready to ride the rails. I'm transferring diagnostic programs to your terminal. Go ahead and boot it up.
Right, so now, when we look outside the window, we see there's a ship out there, look. Okay. Clinging to the side of the hab. Right, and you can see it from out in the yard. Right, but there's a weird program that Lou gives you here, which you use to fix this ship up, right? And I don't know why they went with the porn music in the program, but that's what we got. Lou Steiner. Okay, that's another union newsletter.
Getting data now. Amazing. Oh, old girl was used for construction at some point. Whoa. Could maybe even be kitted out for salvage running one day. This program will identify what parts you need to fix her up. Don't pay too much attention to Shippy. That thing talks way too much.
Look who's talking!
Everything you need just kicking around while salvaging. Bits and pieces that Link doesn't care much about. Oh, you could also rip parts out of other ship components. And ruin the salvage value, of course. Maybe don't tell Weaver if you're gonna do that. Can't wait to see what you do with this beauty. Good luck, Brooke.
Whee! Honestly, Lou telling us that Shippy talks too much. That's like me telling somebody they talk too much. So there you go. There's the old ship that you have to salvage all these parts for, look. But now we can pick those parts up. And you can also salvage them, as she said, you can salvage them out of computer terminals and stuff like that. You used to be able to salvage them from nacelles, but you can't do that anymore. But it ruins the salvage value because you take the valuable components out, and that's that. That's the end of that. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. Armadillos. I quote that ad way too often. New stickers. Nanocarbon. Let's put that one over there. Beep. So now we're going outside and we'll do a different ship and we'll be able to pick up those components. Oh, wait. Let me check my equipment first. Equipment check. Yeah, see? 86%, you know, once it goes below 75, you'll get a little bit of a warning. And, well, your warning will be that it goes and makes a weird little electronic noise, and then you get Weaver saying, your parts are degrading. Range of the grapple. Tether amounts. That's very handy. Let's improve the brakes on the thrusters. That's tremendously handy. And the next helmet upgrade is at rank 10 for the O2. Right. We can go to Armadillo, and I can guarantee you'll say that at least once. Yeah. I repair after 50%. And no, I used to repair when it got to about 60% and stuff like that. But to be honest, the price of repair the price of repair kits is so low that I don't even notice that I'm spending money on them. So every now and again I just go and buy an absolute ton, and I just repair them whenever they get to about 80%, or sometimes below 95. I just don't like getting surprised by it not working, but it doesn't really happen. It's just a bit of my process. Right, another quick bathroom break, and I'll be right back. I've never bought a repair kit. Always got by. Yeah, to be honest, I probably don't really need to. But well, there was a time when they didn't give you. There was a time when instead of having those little lines for I don't know how long you've been playing, but instead of having those little lines for salvage quotas, right? What you'd have instead was you would have what they used to call work orders, right? So you'd be given several work orders a long time ago in Shipbreaker. You'd be given several work orders, which I kind of liked, and they would be things like things that you now see when you do the race. If you do the Cutter's Race, they used to be actually part of the main game, some of the quotas. So you'd get the work orders that say salvage 15 computer terminals, right? So for every ship, you'd get so many work orders. And the way to level up faster was to fill out work orders, and to pay off more money was to fill out work orders. So you'd finish those off. So you'd get like so many. And as you got higher up through the ranks, you get more work orders, like, you know, salvage 2 nacelles. Salvage 20 computer terminals, salvage 15 seats, stuff like that, right? But again, I'm not going to give actual story spoilers, but the other thing about buying repair kits is that not only did I never really used to notice the cost, but I'm not going to give any story spoilers, and I encourage you not to either, but those who have finished the story know that that debt, that huge debt, doesn't have quite the same meaning that it used to. Okay? So, you know. But now, we can go outside, and we can salvage parts for the armadillo. Now, those of you who've seen me stream Shipbreaker before will know that I have a pet theory. A possible sequel for Shipbreaker has been hinted at by people like Elliot Hudson a few times. So yeah, possible sequel has been hinted at. They haven't started making one or anything like that. I think what the dev team have said is they would like to make one, and they're definitely open to the possibility of making one. And I think that this is a setup for a sequel. I think, if it were me, and this is my pet theory, again, means nothing, and I've mentioned it here many times, that I honestly think that a sequel to Shipbreaker would have you running your own salvage company, but out there in the deeper solar system, in places where you actually go out to salvage ships. And I think I think the idea would be that you start this salvage company with this tiny little ship. That's my theory, but I haven't got that from anywhere. That's just what makes sense to me. Okie dokie. Right, let's do the... what should we do? They've got some exo labs and stuff. We just done a javelin. Alright, let's do the tug. Since we haven't done one of those yet in this playthrough. Lou did say that it could be fit for salvaging. Yeah, honestly, I think that's it.
Thrusters on these Atlas ships are worth a minute, but can be a touch...
It can be a touch fiddly.
The sound of the thruster engine and fuel injector...
That's putting it mildly.
You gotta pop off the thruster nozzle and work your way inside from there. The trick of it is, these thrusters become unstable once you start working on them.
Yeah.
Fire starts spreading real fast. When it reaches the fuel tank, it's gonna blow. You gotta get in quick and switch off the fuel supply. There's a shut-off switch at the very back. Get
For some reason.
as fast as you can. Otherwise, well, you'd be in for a big old mess. Okay, let's get that nozzle removed.
A fuel cut-off switch at the very back of a thruster in a location that can't be reached from the inside of the ship. Oops. No, don't do that. Yeah, some of these places you have to use your stinger because most of the stuff around it can be cut through with a split saw, so you don't want to do that. Oh, for God's sake. Really? Whee! That's weird. What did I miss there? Did I not cut through one of those? Oh, it's there. God, I must have missed. I thought I'd cut that. I thought I'd cut that already, but obviously not. There we go. That's the way to do it. Alright. Oh, don't cut through the buckles because it's pressurized in there. Oh my god, sorry, my nose is running like a tap.
Salvage is secured. Applying credit.
God damn cold. Dastardly inconvenient, don't you find? Yeah, there isn't another one at the bottom. Yeah, I just thought I'd cut through that first one and I didn't. Okay.
Object accepted for processing. Credit deposited.
Whee. Right, in a moment I'll show you what he means about the thrusters, although I think most of you in here have seen it, because when I was doing playthroughs of this, of course, a couple of times before the release, so before I got reset, so I'm sure most of you have seen what you have to do with these thrusters. A new thing that's happened now is most of some of the early ships you get with the Atlas thrusters don't actually have a quasar thruster inside. But this one does, because this is the one that Weaver's been talking about, so. Yeah, you saw me cutting through the buckles. Yeah, I was getting carried away there, and I was like, it was only after a moment that I thought, oh dear, wait, that's pressurized. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. That could end in tears. That could have been a nasty accident, that. It has been no days since our last death. I love popping off those thruster nozzles. Awesome. Okay. Oh, let me just pop off all the nozzles first.
Account credited.
There's the Solaris. You see it went dark. That's why.
Processing object.
I love that. And little things like that I really love about this game. I love when they added that. I was really, really excited. It was a small thing, but you know. See if we can manage to see the rail gate fire up as well. Yoink.
Processing valuable deposit. Credit transferred.
Oh, didn't cut the other side of that off, did I? Nearly fed myself to the furnace there. Fed myself to the furnace gods. There's a sticker for that, I think. Furnace god worshipper, isn't it? Now, there is all sorts of stuff in there that can go wrong. That's inside. You know, a pressurized hull. So ordinarily I wouldn't have done this, but with the later models of these ships, I've found that if you get rid of too much stuff from the inside of the ship before you cut the Atlas thrusters apart, when they separate, the force of that happening can send your ship spinning in all sorts of weird directions. So I like to do this first now. I never used to, but cut through the thruster. That was a good start. That's weird. Boom.
Real satisfying when it comes apart like that, don't you think?
Well, it would be if I hadn't just annihilated the quasar thruster, yeah. That's what you get for not concentrating. That's why I used to use demo charges on these. They're a bit of a pain to place, but there's always more. Ooh. Oh, for God's sake. Oop. Get off. Again, not quite so easy with a controller. Oh, come out, you bastard. Oh, for God's sake. I'm going to run out of time. Boom. Whee! Well, that's the two on one side. This is what I was talking about, where these can be a real pain to get into the... Because they're a bit janky, and they can get thrown about a bit, and they'll hang up on that edge if you're not careful what you're doing. If you do that, they'll just pull out far enough away that it shouldn't get sucked in to the furnace. Oh no, it is getting pulled over to one side, look. I don't want... It can get hung up on that edge. You know, like I showed you with that other section before? And it can be a real pain in the ass when that happens. There we go. I think they need to work on that, honestly. Okay. This time... So it pull out a bit further. You can use the jacks if you're really nervous about that sort of thing, but... Usually you're okay if you put them to the sides and then just beyond. Because if it just sits there for a while, not doing anything, it's no big whoop. You can pull it in later. As long as it doesn't get pulled into the furnace, that's what you don't want. Right. We'll deal with that later. Let's do this one now.
Salvage accepted.
Speaking of these fancy thrusters, what happens if you don't remove the little coolant tanks that are often in those compartments you're pulling off? I don't know. That's a good question. I've never not removed them. I do know some people... I've seen people do... I don't bother with it, because frankly, it can cause more of an accident than it prevents. But I have seen people removing the coolant tanks and smashing them against the hulls there, and you know when you cause a little leak and they start to spin about. And I've seen people using that to cool the fuelant lines, which slows the reaction. But firstly, I've never found that necessary. And secondly, that can cause more problems than it solves. So, but I've seen it done.
Thruster fuel system breached. Interior unstable.
Nah.
Warning. Oxygen reserves are low.
Realistically, what you should do if you're going to use tethers, because at this point, my grapple is not strong enough to pull that away fast enough without using the tethers, as you noticed on that last one. But if you're going to attach a tether, you should really do that before you cut the fuel lines, because it's not going to pull the entire thruster away, that I promise you. Oh, crap. Let's see if there's any O2 in here before we... Probably not, I'm going to say.
Oxygen reserves are critical. Reminder.
Oh, no, I don't want to get locked in there. Let's just go on.
Carbon dioxide levels.
I've got to cycle it all over again if there's no O2 in it, so... There we go, which it doesn't seem terribly likely that there's going to be.
Oxygen levels stabilizing.
Yes, that's a good idea, using the scanner. As I say, as I've said before, it's one of my bad habits. I don't use the scanner. You should use it a lot more often than I do. I just don't bother that often.
Just got about 5 minutes left in her.
Right, so if we attach the tether first, right? then that will start to move the second I've cut through these. Which can be a useful little thing.
Proceed with extreme caution.
Yep. There we go. Grapple. Boosh. Here we go. Right. Let's try to move these. What happened to that other one? Oh, see, that one went too far, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. I just don't want it to get hung up on that edge. That is a major pain in the ass if that happens. There we go. Let me try and pull that front end around. Come on. Right, don't worry about that. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Not to worry. It seems like a crazy, weird network, spider network of stuff, that, doesn't it? I'll watch this one get jammed in the entrance. Again, like I said, if stuff does get jammed there... Look, you see how it always drifts to that side now with the thruster? With the furnace? It never used to. That's a real pain in the backside these days. I hope they fix that soon. But yeah, that never used to happen to quite that same extent. Right, I'm not going to separate those yet because I can't get to the other side to cut those loose at this point anyway. So I'm not going to cut those away till later. I'll leave those for a while and go inside.
Airlock pressurizing.
Okie dokie. Okay. There's a working atmo regulator, which I would expect at this level anyway, at this rank. And that is why you should make a habit of using the scanner. So that that doesn't happen. Right, see these now? Look, now I can pick these up.
Looks like you got a part for the armadillo.
Yeah.
See if there's any more lying around in there.
Yeah, it's pretty much my worst habit in this, is not using the scanner often enough. Norm, who came in? What did we do? Oh, Richard's just testing if it works. It does work, yes, and I want to bring back norms. They've gotten long forgotten. Okay, we got a Class 1 reactor. Bunch of stuff. Let's have a look. What have we got in here? Cockpit's fine. Airlock's still pressurized, obviously. Well, let's sort that out.
Get down to the wire. Let's put a bow on this ship.
Airlock depressurizing.
Oh, there was O2 inside, look. Okay. Alright. Okay. Don't really need to release anything in there. And there are fuel tanks and O2 tanks in there, so I don't want to tether those together because it can cause a bit of a problem. Let's remove these. Okay. God's sake. Goddamn range on this thing. It's lousy. I'm gonna grab a beer and maybe cut some ships up. Take care. Will do. I'm starting a petition to get SK to bring back Norm. Norm, bring back Norm. There's Norm. There you go. Quite right, Corvo. Yes, quite right. It's been too long abandoned. Thanks for joining us, Kira. Always good good to have new folks in here. Good luck, Cutter. Be safe out there. Got about another 40 minutes, so we might get another 2 shifts in. Beep, beep, beep.
Shipbreaker.
There we go. Let's stick that poster up. Oh no, the bunny one's up there at the moment. Let's put it there. There we go. There we go. Right. I don't think we've picked up anything that can actually be used. No. We haven't booked any circuits or wires, so we can't put those on, but we will do shortly. Don't worry. Equipment. Alright. Nothing to see here. Move along. Okay. God's sake. Oh.
Welcome to Venadron 9000.
Pull that thing in. Okay.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
Pull that off in safety now. Nothing to worry about. No offense, FK, but you sound like that funky cook. He was always sniffing. Yeah, I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm terribly sorry about my sniffy cold.
Salvage deposit.
I had this weird thing actually, because I sneeze all year round. Have done for years. Since I was a kid. I've spent like most of my year sneezing. Not just summer, not just a hay fever thing, not just a cold thing. And I find that quite often if I spend a lot of time blowing my nose, it just makes my nose run more and more like a tap. So I just kind of live with it and sniff a lot of the time. So I do apologize for that. It's why I don't normally stream if I've got a cold. I try not to, but it's been like with the big break that I've had from streaming and so many new games being released recently that I love, and knowing that I've got another big break from streaming coming up, I didn't really want to cry off streaming. But no offense, no. Don't worry about that. No offense given whatsoever. No offense taken, I should say. I just apologise that it's kind of off-putting for people. Oh, let's take that. Let me collect that one. I like that one. I always put that one up in my suit. Come on. Whee!
Applying credit to account.
Yeah, but it must be really, I think it's really irritating. It's actually one of the things that someone said about me early on when I was making playthroughs. Someone had left a comment, you know, when I really didn't have any viewers on YouTube. And it was early on in my KCD playthroughs. And someone had made some comment that they weren't going to be watching me anymore because they didn't like to hear me sniffing and coughing and clearing my throat. And the thing is, with my playthroughs, what I used to do is go and cut a lot of that out. But of course, I can't do that. I can't do that in a live stream, so... My mic setup with the DBX helps a lot. The noise gate helps cut a lot of those little tiny bits of sniffs and snorts and things, but when I've got a cold... They're too obvious. So I do apologise if people find that off-putting. I know I probably would if I was watching. Look at that. I've been killed by a crisp bag in this game. Yes. Early on, when they first introduced these things that were on the ships, that you see these food packets, right? And I'd accidentally set one on fire, and it in turn was floating about and accidentally set some of the soft crates on fire. Then the entire ship went up. It destroyed the fuel line, and everything exploded. Killed by a crisp bag. It's a thing. Oh, I don't want to cut through that yet. Just loosen that. I can't see why that would close. Sometimes you've got to be careful. You know, you take those little airlock consoles. You've sometimes got to be careful when you're doing... If, for example, you're doing a ghost ship, the AI nodes on ghost ships can actually cause those... They can cause airlocks to close. They can cause the ship to repressurize, even once you've depressed it. And so you've got to be careful not to melt through those, like, for example, when you're doing a ghost ship. But we're not doing ghost ships yet. I don't think they... On this playthrough, we haven't even seen them introduced, so... They will be, but... And we'll do one, just to, you know, get it out of the way so that Weaver shuts up about it. Nah. That one's going to cut through, isn't it? There we go. There we go. Just had to get a bit closer. Tomorrow, excuse me sniffing, when I'm streaming with Richard, assuming that I am, if this gets much worse, I won't, but assuming that I am going ahead with my Sniper Elite 5 stream with Richard, hopefully Richard's screaming and mine should cover up all the sniffs and snorts. It just makes me feel like I have a stuffy nose too. Skywalkers? Skywalkers? What did I miss? Did I say something incorrectly? What did I do? Oh, God's sake. Airlock console. There we go. Grab it. Throw that. Oh dear.
Credit transferred.
Clang. Come on. Right, let's get rid of these Atlas thrusters. Let's get them out of the way, because they're getting on my nerves now. I don't know why I always get nervous. It's because I hate putting these things in the processor because of how they get hung up now on those... And I hate getting rid of them. It drives me bananas. So let's just get them out of the way. Let's just get the worst job out of the way, and then that's done.
Salvage secured. Account credit.
We got to pull that thing off, though. Come on. Right, there we go. Watch the fuel tanks when you do this. And watch the angle that you're cutting through, because, of course, if you've got, like, let's say I cut through at this angle here. There, right? If I don't stop the second that incinerates, it will blow up that fuel tank. So you've got to watch, like, the angle that you're cutting at as well. It can be a pain. The only reason it's separate is because that goes in the processor, and the other parts of that thruster go in the barge down there. So there we go. And watch you don't, like, I just wasn't very careful there, but watch you don't clatter the fuel canisters against something, because that too will make them explode. And you know, in the case of just fuel canisters like that, you should survive it. You shouldn't need a spare. You should survive the explosion, but most of the parts of the ship won't. So then you just lost a bunch of stuff. You've just lost lost a ton of salvage, which you didn't need to. Yeah. Boom. There you go. Should shift it. Oh, let's get that thing out. Look, see? I hate these. I hate that these massive sides of the Atlas thrusters are one of the things I hate the most in this game. There's some stuff that's really satisfying, like a reactor pull. I like doing a nice clean reactor pull in this. It's great, but my O2 levels are dropping. But there's O2 in the cockpit, is there not? Which is right there. There's fuel. But wasn't there O2 at the other end? Oh crap.
Valuable object processed.
God damn it, where was that? There you go. There we go.
Oxygen level stabilized.
Oh, let's get another one of those. If there is one. Yeah, there's one. Let's get it now, before I forget. That'll last me the rest of the shift anyway. And thruster fuel. Okay. Did we... What did we do? No, they're not off yet. Good night, honey. Hope you sleep okay. That violent controller lurch that I do. Another thing that you don't get with a mouse and keyboard.
We're looking at 5 minutes left.
Shift.
Do what you do.
Do what you do. Shift your biscuits. Like, he says some weird stuff now. Like, oh, for God's sake.
Rewards will be paid.
Okay. One over there, and then one in there. I think we'll be alright. I'll tell you what, let's pull the tail end over there a little bit.
Processing object.
Don't get hung up on that. See, it's still drifting. That is mental. God, I hate these things. Don't do it, don't do it. There we go. We got it, we got it, we got it. We got it. What? Ow. Sky, what? Space crisps. Right, yeah, I got you. Walker's crisps. Skywalker. Yeah. You know the family. I'm familiar with them, yeah. Right, let's pull that directly in, and then let's hang that up on the jack and see what happens. You see? Look, that started out here. How did it get yanked all the way? Look at it. Now, those of you not familiar with Shipbreaker will not know how weird it is that that is still getting pulled into the furnace, despite me having pulled that way up there. It's bizarre.
Processing value.
It's like these pieces of equipment, especially the Atlas thrusters side panels, the housing, they're the worst things. They're the things it always happens on, no matter what you do. And I don't know why. It's like styrofoam peanuts sticking to a static balloon or something. They just, yeah, the furnace god is hungry. Correct. But I don't know why the Atlas thruster housings are so. They kind of always do this. Why they are more so inclined to cling to that side than any of the other stuff, I don't know.
Valuable object accepted for processing.
But they are, and there it is. Whee! There we go. Oh god, there's two more on the other side. You see? And every time I think we're done with it, no. We've got more of them to do. there. Pull it over there. Don't break.
Credits awarded.
Oh, god damn. I don't think I'm going to pull that one out of the way.
Cutter, looks like you used your last tether.
So I have.
Head on over to the kiosk to pick up some more.
That's because of these stupid thrusters. Oop. Boink. Oops. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah. Oh, we're good. Sacrifices must be made to appease the furnace gods. Yeah, there's a particular sticker that you can get now in this that talks about furnace god worshippers. You can find little you can find little bits of stuff on data drives as well. There we go. Clatter, clatter. In you go.
Valuable object processed.
Come on, baby.
All right, Cutter, wrap it up. You got about a minute left.
There we go. You see that one? I can put one tether on that and send it in there, no problem. And there's no chance of that getting hung up on there. But those, for some reason, the Atlas housing, thruster housings are just evil for that. Off you go. Right, there we go. I mean, as a precaution, you'll notice, I don't know if you've paid any attention, but you'll notice I do, when I'm sending stuff into the processor, I do always tend to send heavier stuff to that side plate rather than straight into the processor. It just does save some stuff getting hung up on the sides, but as for the most part, you don't really have to worry too much about it. Oops. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Right, that's out, floating out there now. You got the furnace god sticker by cutting the thruster cap off a pressurized mackerel and getting blown straight to the furnace. When I get swallowed by the furnace, it's almost always because I'm not paying attention to my weights. And what I've done is I've cut something that I think is now free floating. And it's not. I've left one of the cut points still attached to the rest of the ship. And I use force push. I use force grapple. You know, the grapple force push thing. Charged push. Sorry, I keep going to Jedi Fallen Order and all of that sort of thing. It's how the furnace god would have wanted you to go. Yeah, when I get blown into the furnace, it's because I've cut a piece off and I've thought I've removed it from the rest of the ship and I haven't. And I use the charged push to blast it into the processor, but I've left a cut point. So basically I'm trying to charged push the entire ship. So of course I just get blown backwards into the furnace. That's the way. If I'm going to get swallowed by the furnace, that's how it always happens. I think we're about to meet Hal Rhodes, who's an asshole. When we go back out in the yard, I'm pretty sure.
Overnight genetic backup complete. Pattern deviation nominated.
Full of gas.
Have a good day.
Do we pick up anything new? No. So you see here, we need a circuit and some wires for the first thing. Then it might be something like 2 rods and an ion coil or something like that, right? So the various bits that it requires at every level are different. But if you go into the... Let me just check my equipment first, see if I can level anything else up that's worthwhile. The grapple is really the one. No thruster range. It's level 10. Work suit. Change up the audio resynth. I don't really concern myself too much with that, but there we go. Demo charges we don't unlock till level 11. We've got some new stickers, probably. Look, there's the Furnace God sticker. Die 5 times through Furnace Incineration to get the Furnace God Worshipper sticker. What do we need that? 10 of those bottles. Oh, I got a mini-me. Let's put the mini... Oh, wait. Where's the mini-me thing? There we go, mini-me. The perfect salvage over 95%. If I do that this time, I should get enough to upgrade that and go straight to the holographic version of it to put on there, so I'm not going to bother with it. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. We don't want to... Oh, let's just... There we go. So we might get to meet Hal before we log off today. We've got one more shift. Let's see if we meet him now. Nope. Oh well. Well, we'll meet him next time. Next week.
Welcome to Venetron.
On next week's Shipbreaker.
Have a nice day.
Processing valuable object.
Oh, see? Look, I knew that'd happen. There it goes. No, no. Save it. Save it. There we go.
Salvage deposit registered. Account credited.
Oh, I didn't get a bong, so I figured maybe I'd missed that, but no. What the hell's that? Oh, it's the broken fuel pipe from the Atlas thruster that the Quasar thruster that I blew up. There's a repair kit. Oh, 2 repair kits, in fact. Pick those up. Where? Leave the med kit for now in case I have a nasty accident and suddenly need to repair a hole in my suit before I die.
Object processed.
Okay.
Transferring credits. Salvage goal reached. Reward.
Salvage goal reached. That's weird. Alright, we've got to pull this floor out. Might as well do this while I'm lined up. Chuck that outside. Go outside with it, and that's one less thing to set on fire when I'm trying to remove things.
Confirmed. Applying credit.
Is that still attached somewhere? What? That's just weird.
Valuable object processed. Credit.
Oh crap. Why? Ugh. Shit. I don't know why that's clinging to the edge of that. That's really strange. That shouldn't be doing that. Come on. It's got hung up on something somewhere. Alright, let's melt this wall. That'll solve it. Or should do. Try not to get blown up this time. Oh, for God's sake. Yukata is useless at this level, it really is. Like, at the higher ranks, you can melt stuff like that without even thinking about it. You don't have to give it a second thought. Right, let me melt that away, because this thing's gotten... This base plate has gotten hung up on this... There we go. There we go, that did it. Okay. There we go, we pull that away now. Tug out the reactor. Blink.
Transferring credit.
Ladder was trying to escape. No.
Credits awarded.
Get rid of that deadly, deadly crisp bag. Ammo cell.
Credits awarded.
Another deadly food bag. Oh, what else we got there?
Salvage deposit accepted. Credit.
Probably some poster that I didn't have. Oh, airlock console. Oop. Okay.
Salvage deposit complete.
Oh dear.
Applying credit.
Just destroyed that when I accidentally let the air bleed through when I opened that. When I opened that airlock earlier on without checking the pressure. Everything's my fault, you know. Any filters on this? Nope. Oh, there's that though. Okay. There you go. Oh, I pulled that off the wall. That's what happened to that. There you go. Yeah, let's take that thing now. Just to get it out, because I'm about to salvage all of this. Oh, airlock console. These things are deadly. See these soft pads? The slightest spark from stuff, and they'll just all set on fire, and they can set other things on fire, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. Oops. Where's that crate gone? Oh, there it is.
Salvage deposit registered. Account credited. Salvage goal achieved.
Shall we take that fuel before we get rid of it all? Yes, why not? Okay. Oh, we got some frames to cut out, right. And an airlock console. There's millions of these door and airlock consoles all over the place. The airlock consoles are worth 125,000. I think the regular door consoles, which look identical, are only worth, I can't remember, 76,000, I think, something like that. Something crazy like that. See, now here you've got cut points to remove the wires from the interior of the ship, but there's no need for that at all, because it's going to the same place as the rest of the frame. Wait a minute, I saw something was going to... Oh, that light. Yeah, but as we know, the lights aren't worth anything, so that's a pointless waste of time cutting those away.
Processing object. Applying credit to account.
Right, I think... Oh no, there's another one. Here's the stinger, so we don't get through there. That wouldn't make any difference. You're only cutting through wires if you use the split saw, but... Oh, for God's sake! There we go. Oh, we good.
Transferring credit.
I think we're good, folks.
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
Okie dokie. We got a bit of time left. Let's pull these lights off.
Salvage deposited. Applying
Make sure I haven't left any other goddamn airlock consoles. Yeah, normally I don't bother with the lights. It's just a waste of time, but as I said, once you know you've got your ship finished, which this will be as soon as I've pulled this into the furnace. Once you know you've got your ship finished, a shift will cost you as much if you're out there for 10 seconds as it will if you're out there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. Once you're out there, you're on the clock, and all your shift payments, like your suit rentals and things like that, they'll all come out regardless. So you might as well use up your minutes if you've got the time to do that. Obviously, if you're on the clock, like in real life, and you want to get more shifts done, then don't do that, but... You know, if you got extra time, you can have a bit of fun and just cut big chunks off the ship. Why you would do that, I don't know, but the split saw is fun to use now and again to cut entire ship hulls in half. Interior frames, of course, you can't cut through nanocarbon. You used to be able to cut through nanocarbon with the top-most upgrade for the split saw, but as useful as that sounds, it would cause more problems than it solved. Because what you'd end up doing is, you'd see where I was running through the ship very, very quickly, cutting all the cut points there with a split saw, right? And on the bigger ships, you do that a lot more often. Quite often, if you would use the higher level of the split saw that would cut through the nanocarbon, you couldn't do that, because every time you went zap, it would just cut straight through the nanocarbon shell. And what you'd end up with out there is just look like confetti. And you get bits of nanocarbon floating all over the place, which you then got to pick up individually or collect them into a group to blast them into the processor. And it created way more problem than it solved. It was another instance of something that caused more problems than it solved. But the problem is that once you upgraded to that, you couldn't roll it back. There was no way to roll back and get rid of that upgrade. You could always just cut through the nanocarbon then. It was a pain in the ass. I mean, confetti little bits like that around your shipyard, around the bay, cause a lot of problems, because if you're sending... One of the ways that they cause problems, apart from obstructing things, when you're trying to... If there's a cloud of debris and you're trying to get to something that's behind it with your grapple, you can't, because you'll pick up little bits of debris. But the other thing is, when you're sending stuff as quickly as you can with tethers, trying to be in a hurry, quite often you'll send a tether and you'll go into the processor, and then you'll go about doing something else, and 5 minutes later you'll realise that it hasn't gone into the processor. The other end of the tether attached to a little piece of debris that was in the way of the processor that you couldn't see because you were just rushing about. So creating debris in the bay is more of a problem than you'd think, which is why I tend to be careful with my cuts, even in places where I don't need to be. Oh, look. We almost left 2 quasar thrusters in the bay there. If I hadn't used the scanner, we would have.
You're fixing to dot the I's and cross the T's. You got about 5 minutes to do it. Weaver out.
What have we got there? Aluminium furnace. What else we got? Bits of rammel. Okay, there you go. We've gone over. Oh, we're not going to get a mini-me for that one, though. I've wasted too much stuff. That's because that quasar thruster blew up. What is that? What are you? Oh, it's a little piece of fuel pipe. Don't worry about that. We don't worry about that. Woo! Okay. Jesus. Need better brakes. Okay, tethers. No, not bother with the fuel. That'll be fine. There we go. End of shift for the evening. Oh dear. Oh, an intercom call.
Shipbreaker, you have 1 incoming transmission waiting.
It's going to be from Lou, isn't it?
Hey, newbie.
Oh no, it's Dee Dee.
Hey, just having a couple cold ones.
Drunk.
Thought I'd ask you something. You ever heard of karaoke? Karaoke? No? It's singing without words.
Dee Dee's hammered.
Well, the original words. Anyway, it's a big thing back home. My daughter wants to be a singer one day. She's good, too. Believe it or not, I can belt out a tune.
I believe it, Dee Dee. Keep it to yourself.
You think Lou can rig something up so we can do karaoke over Kong? Clever ideas, that kid. Well, anyways,
I'm gonna get some shut-eye. Gotta do it all over again tomorrow. Am I right? Good night, kiddo.
You are right. I have, in fact, got to do it all over again tomorrow, but not with Shipbreaker, with Sniper Elite 5, where I will be co-oping through one map
Warning Cutter 93.
with Copper Octopus there, with our good buddy Richard. As I said in the Discord, Richard and I have been playing those kinds of games together for over 20 years.
Listen up, folks.
Oh no. Hey, Hal.
This is you to Hal Rhodes.
No need for introductions, Weaver.
This guy's an asshole.
Let's just get right into it. I know you don't love a middle manager like me coming in, making life hard. Yeah, I get it. See, I'm from people like you. Used to work the links yards around Ceres. Not shipbreaking, of course. Processing, which honestly is just as tough. Real back-breaking work.
Yep, we know processing can be just
Look,
as
this
tough.
is real simple. I hit my goals, and I'm out of your hair. But we all gotta pull the rope in the same direction. Get it? Cooperation. Cooperation. You scratch my back, and we'll all be done here in no time. Capisci? Okay then. I'm taking the day to settle in, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bright and early. Okay?
Okay then.
This guy thinks he knows what back-breaking work is.
I'm telling ya. 1 week, tops.
Guy's gonna cooperate with the business end of my grapple.
Okay now. Remember, be on your best behavior. See y'all in the yard.
So there you go. That's Hal Rhodes. He's an asshole. And you'll hear a lot more from him for the rest of the story. And if you don't dislike him already, you will very quickly just absolutely hate his guts. But, you know, he's been well designed. He's been well designed that way as Hal. He's been designed... The character's been created precisely to get right up your nose. That's what he does. That's what he's there for. So, we're going to leave it there. Assuming that my cold does not get much worse, I will be back on stream tomorrow at the same time from 9 o'clock BST, British Summer Time, which is 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And I'll be co-oping through one of the maps on Sniper Elite 5 with Richard there. And then next week, I'll be back in Shipbreaker again. So next Tuesday, I'll be back in Shipbreaker again, and we'll carry on with the story. We should get to some important bits of the story, I think, next week. Hopefully, we should get to some important bits. I think probably another 2 weeks before we've completed it, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I think at the rate we've been going, it'll be about another 2 weeks before we complete. So next week and the week after before we actually complete the story. But we'll be able to fix... Well, I'll show you as we're going along. We'll be able to fix up the tug there. You know, we'll see a couple of other things. I will at some point. We'll see the railgate fire. We've got radiation filters still. We've got Class 2 reactors that I don't think we've seen in this playthrough yet. But if you've seen me play Shipbreaker before the update, you'll know what they're all about. Or if you play the game, obviously. Radiation filters, ghost ships... all sorts of other stuff to come. Bigger ships like the big geckos and the really big javelins. So yeah, the ships only get bigger and more difficult from here on out. And we'll see a lot more of Hal, unfortunately. But that is it for today. I'll be back tomorrow, as I said, same time to play co-op Sniper Elite 5, and then we're back in Shipbreaker next week. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks to the new people we've had in here, Binary Dream and Kira, who was here earlier, and we had a couple of other people. And, of course, all my lovely regulars and friends, Copper Octopus, Mordred, Spiff, and everybody else that's coming here today. HJ, everyone that's there, Corvo. Lovely people. I appreciate your support. It's great to be back. I'm still excited about streaming again. It hasn't worn off yet since I've come back, even though I'm only doing 1 or 2 streams a week. I'll see you again next time. But until then, From Night's Arcade, this is Sleepless Night saying nighty-night.